the Pig and Whistle Tales from Azeroth. As always here at the Pig and Whistle Inn in Stormwind, I go through a variety of subjects with regards to World of Warcraft. So grab a bottle or a pint, sit back and enjoy. And today we're going to be going over 9.1 again and where we're currently at, as a lot of other information and details were dumped onto the PTR earlier this week. So just making sure that we're all caught up with them and everything like that. But as always, we're going to start with the weekly stuff. So the world boss for this week is ENR, which is the Bastion world boss. Make sure you get over there, get your 250 anima and get back. Nice and easy. The bonus event for this week is the World Quest bonus. And what this basically does is the reputation that is associated with the world quest that you complete, you get bonus reputation for that faction or that faction. So definitely a time to grind some rep now if you are looking to do that and be a sort of completionist, or if you're just looking for a certain mount up when you're exalted. And finally, the mythic affixes for this week are tyrannical. So the bosses have 30% more health and they deal a little bit more damage, and this scales with summoned minions from the bosses as well. Bolstering, so be careful when you're killing big packs, as a mob that dies early will bolster the entire group, giving them 20% more damage and health. So you want to kill everything very evenly to the point where they're dying within a second or two of each other. And finally, Necrotic, the tank's favourite. Necrotic is a stacking debuff for the tank that reduces healing received and is a damage over time effect as well. So make sure you've got some vials, if you're Kyrian, bubbles, purities, stuff like that. Definitely make use of your paladins that you have in your group for Blessing of Protection to remove the stack, or just Kite if you're a demon hunter, stuff like that. That makes it a lot easier. But with that out of the way, that is currently what's on live. We're going to be diving into what's on the PTR mainly. But before we kind of get into the PTR, well, they did release this kind of with the PTR. It's not on the game, but it's to do with the game. And they're releasing a new book, World of Warcraft. It is called World of Warcraft Sylvanas. It is a book purely about Sylvanas and all of her lore, starting from when she was first introduced in Warcraft 3. This is going back before World of Warcraft was even a thing. So, yeah, from Warcraft 3 all the way up to present day, maybe even beyond, we don't know. The book is scheduled to release in November time, so later this year, and it is available for pre-purchase now, I believe. So, I've had a couple of these books, of the World of Warcraft books. I've had the Garrosh one and the Battle for Azeroth one as well. They're brilliant. I love listening to them. They were just amazing because they connect the expansions. So the Garrosh one especially, it was how we got from Mists of Pandaria expansion to Warlords of Draenor. It might not have made sense why they're suddenly invading like this, like Iron Horde, but in the book it is it is gone in very much detail and explained what has happened and why, and all of the events leading up to Warlords of Draenor. They don't put as much information in the books as they used to, mainly because, well, not everyone's going to read the book, so you're going to have a lot of people who are still very confused, in the game, and don't necessarily know how they got there. So it's watered down a tiny bit, but with the Sylvanas book, I feel as if it will be really good because it's all set in stone already. The lore is there since about 2002, 2003, something like that. So the lore is there for Sylvanas up until the very present day, and it goes over absolutely everything from when she was killed and turned into a banshee to when she got her freedom, forming the Forsaken, killing Arthas, just going on and on, when she first met the jailer and stuff like that. So it goes through absolutely everything, and with one of the most lore-rich characters in the game just getting their own standoff book, it's amazing and definitely worth it. especially if you look at like the Jaina book as well, like that goes into a lot of detail, and they can probably update that book, to be honest now. But the Sylvanas one will be very good, so definitely worth keeping an eye out for it if you're into the lore side of stuff, and if you just sort of, well, want something to listen to, want something to read maybe as well. Yeah, definitely worth the pickup. So, on the PTR, they have dumped in a few extra things that we're going to be going over. Obviously, this isn't absolutely everything that's in the PTR. This is just the latest sort of bulk patch that has been added to the game as of late. So for Mythics, there's been a slight change there's been an extra reward that has been added to Mythics when you complete a plus 20 key or higher on any of the dungeons. So the reward for timing a 20 plus key is basically you get a teleporter to that dungeon. So you've plussed a plus 20 Halls of Atonement key, you'll get a teleporter to teleport you to the dungeon entrance. So, nice and easy. Obviously, you'd expect a bit more. Maybe this would be like the 15 plus key, and then if you want to push for that mount, it should be like 20 plus, but this is for those who are really dedicated and really want to push keys. Because if you really want to push keys, you want an easy way to just get there. Whereas some people just want the mount, and plus 15s are still hard, don't get me wrong. Plus 20s are where you're really pushing it and you want the best composition, you have sort of a leader, you're sort of interrupting in the right times, you know what you're doing, you've got a massive strategy that you've planned out before, etc. So the reward's not bad, it's just maybe they could add something a little bit extra, like a cosmetic from the dungeon or something. Maybe you turn into like a boss from the dungeon, like as a toy or whatever, just for 5 minutes, something like that, as well as the teleporter to the dungeon, just something fun. They have now added the BFA mounts, the PvP BFA mounts to be more specific. This is basically something that was meant to be introduced from the very start of Shadowlands, but it never actually was. So the BFA mounts are the PvP mounts that you got through each season of the rated battles, or rated PvP, whether it be 2v2 arenas, 3v3 arenas, or rated battlegrounds. You would fill up the bar and you would get these mounts at the end, or as you filled up that bar, at the end of that bar. And they were meant to be put, after every expansion, they're put into a sort of, how do I say it? They're put into a vendor, and this vendor requires a vicious saddle. And to obtain the vicious saddles, you need to fill up the latest bar for the PvP season, and then plus fill it up again to get another saddle, and then again to get another, etc. So you need one vicious saddle to purchase these pets. They are the Night Saber mounts, plus the River Beast PvP mount, which is, by the way, the best PvP mount. He's called Chonk, and he's amazing. He's just a giant hippo. His belly basically is scraping along the ground every time you're running with him, and he's just amazing. So you'll need a vicious saddle every time that you want to purchase one of these mounts. There are 4 mounts, because there's 4 seasons of PvP in Battle for Azeroth. And I believe that there's 4 seasons in most expansions, but some chop and change, like Warlords of Draenor might not have many because, you know, of how long the patches were, etc. So basically, you're looking at quite a big grind if you want to get all of these saddles within the next season. And yeah, I mean, myself, I think I've earned about 5 vicious saddles over the course of this season doing PvP and stuff. I just like PvP because I enjoy it. It's what brings fun to the game for me. And the saddles I don't even need. I've bought all of the previous PvP mounts that I didn't have. So they're just sort of in my bank collecting dust. But any that I did miss out on, I'll be sure to, you know, throw a saddle its way. But definitely, even if you're not that much into PvP, but you want a mount specifically like this, you're just going to have to go that extra step and sort of do it twice over, because you'll get the seasonal mount anyway for Shadowlands Season 2 PvP, which is the giant armoured Gorm, which is the big bug-like thing, you know, that thing. And yeah, you're just going to have to do it twice, like double, which isn't bad considering the length of which you have to do it. Because looking at Shadowlands right now, it came out in November? I believe it was November. Yeah, it was November. Late November. Because Nax Ramazin Classic came out a bit after that. We've basically been in Shadowlands for 5 months now. 5 full months, actually 6 nearly. No, 5 full months, yeah. Nearly half a year. And that is more than enough time to complete like 2 rounds over of this progress bar for this Vicious Saddle. So definitely recommend giving it a go. Even if it's just like a few games a day, you'd probably get there within a month or 2, depending on if you're winning or losing. But you've got to be over 1400 rating as well to gain progress towards this this bar. So just make sure that is something that you're doing. Some new currency was actually added on the PTR, and it's some new currency related to the Runecarver and Torghast, and they're called Soul Cinders. And basically, we don't know what it is yet. We have no idea, we're completely in the dark about it, but the only description is that it's used to fuel the Runecarver's chamber. Now, no one knows what that means, really. I can't really speculate what it means. I would imagine that you free the Runecarver completely from his chains, but he can't leave Torghast yet. And I would imagine he starts using actual like forges, possibly, and it's to forge like more upgraded legendaries for you to go on and fight the raid bosses. You know, Torghast, the like higher powers within Torghast, that sort of thing. So that's my theory on it. It's used to actually upgrade your legendaries like even further than what they are now. And I would imagine they keep doing this throughout the entirety of Shadowlands. They might add a 3rd currency in Torghast, 4th one, and then it will be, you know, the next expansion. But I definitely think that this is what it will be used for. It will be used in legendaries of some sort. Maybe the Covenant-specific legendaries, but who knows, to be honest, who knows. We have a load of campaign chapters that have come out, actually. So previously on the PTR, you could only go up to chapter 3, like the start of chapter 3. So you could do chapter 1 and 2 in its entirety. And there's 8 or 9 chapters, I believe. I can't quite remember. I believe it's 8. I want to say 8, just because it sounds better. But you can now do chapters 3, 4, and 5 can now be tested and seen if they're, you know, working okay. There's no bugs. There's no sort of quest bugs where you're just standing still, where some NPCs are messed up, that kind of thing. And within these campaign chapters, this is a spoiler, by the way, so if you do not want to, if you don't want to hear, then don't worry about it. It's only a small spoiler, but it's still a spoiler, so I thought I would warn you. But within these chapters, there is a Maldraxxus camp, or chapter, and it's basically got Thrall, who is the previous, you know, war chief of the Horde, Green Jesus as we know him, and Draka, who is his mother, but she doesn't know that Thrall was like, or is her son, because obviously she died protecting him as an infant, as a baby. So there's a bit of dialogue. I'm obviously not going to spoil that much because that's too much, but there's some dialogue between them and stuff, and yeah, they promised this in BlizzCon that there would be sort of more character interactions with the people within the Shadowlands. So you've got many different opportunities with that. You've got Darian Mograine meeting his dad, Alexandros Mograine, which, you know, there's been a little bit of interaction, but not as much in the Maldraxxus campaign. Like the actual story that's told at the very start of Shadowlands, there's a little bit of that interaction. Draka and Thrall is one that I was really hoping for, mainly because Draka is such a cool character within Shadowlands, and she's never actually seen her like son at this sort, like at a grown-up stage, whereas like Mograine did, and Mograine interacted with his dad a lot more, even on Azeroth. Draka and Thrall never got the opportunity to. There might be others. There might be, say, they might throw a curveball in and Bane might meet Cairn, who's his dad. He might find him in the moor, something like that. And that would be really cool. I would love to see something like that. The small interactions are what's going to make it, because a lot of people know the lore behind like some of these characters, and that's what keeps them in the game. The lore. Some people like it just for the gameplay aspect. Everyone likes it for many different reasons, but they want to introduce lore into the game a lot more so, and this would help them sort of bring it all together a little bit. It would get people intrigued in the lore. They might look stuff up, they might find out other things, so it opens many different possibilities in that regard to Blizzard. But yeah, there's something very fun to look forward to within chapters 3, 4 and 5, whichever the Maldraxxus chapter is, and I hope that they do more of these like character interactions with each other. Like I said, you got Thrall and Draka, you've got Mograine and Mograine. There's so many possibilities that they could do, and I think that they won't sort of pass up the opportunity to do so. Looking at Torghast again, we've got different layers now, or more layers within Torghast. So I believe it goes up to layer 12 when the previous layer was level 8. Which would make sense, because if you look at Torghast now and you go to layer 8, it's on the second page, and there's obviously, there's 6 slots on this page. 2 of them are filled up by layers 7 and 8, so it would only make sense that it goes 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you go on to the third page in the next, like 9.2, etc. So my guess is 12 levels within Torghast. And I believe that there's a new scoring system in place. I checked out some of Wowhead's patch notes and stuff on the PTR, and there was something to do with like a starring system. I'm really not too sure how that will work within Torghast. But basically, we're not going to have the method that we're already all used to, which is the Terragru, and having a set number of deaths before the Terragru chases you through Torghast and basically out. That's your time done within Torghast. This is because obviously within the Tower of the Damned, or whatever it's called, which is the 9.1 raid, you fight the Terragru and you ultimately kill him. So yeah, he can't chase you in, Torghast if he's dead. So they had to come up with a new system, and I believe that it is a star system, but I'm not too sure how it's going to reward you. I would have thought there's achievements based around how many stars you get on the level, or how many mobs you kill, how fast you clear the level, stuff like that. It's all taken into account most likely, and when you get these achievements from completing everything at a 5-star level, you might get a cosmetic, you might get a mount, you might get something else. That kind of thing. That's my thoughts on this, and that's from what I've seen in the system. But again, this is all up in the air. No one knows quite yet what it is. We're just going to have to wait and see with this sort of change. So, along with 9.1, obviously you had the raid that came in, and the 2 bosses previously that were tested out were the Terragru and the Guardian of the First Ones, I believe he's called. Well, with the latest PTR update, you can now test the next 2 raid bosses, which is Soulrender Dormazane and the 9. So the 9 are obviously Sylvanas' Valkyr, and there's 3 main bosses, and they all draw strength from the other like 6-ish. Well, like they're pretty much there, because the other 6, I believe, are dead. I believe from a lore perspective, I believe that they are dead within the game. They were put into the Maw most likely. These 3 are actually alive and became Mawsworn. So, or at least they look to become Mawsworn from their, Raid Finder picture or Raid Journal picture. So the 9 are very significant in terms of Sylvanas' lore. That will also be within the book. You'll see a lot of the 9, the Valkyr, the Sylvanas' Valkyr within the book, which is really cool. And Soulrender Dormazane is basically someone who is torturing Garrosh. So within the Revendreth cinematic that we got before Shadowlands release, we obviously saw Garrosh being tortured to release anima. And obviously the more anima, the better for the Maw. And basically this is the dude within that cinematic who is torturing Garrosh. And there's another boss within later on in the raid who is basically the second guy torturing Garrosh. It's kind of, a family outing in terms of torturing, bonding with your family. So you get to test these 2 raid bosses as well. There's how many in the raid? God, I can't quite remember. 8? I believe there's 8. Yeah, and obviously towards the back end of the Torghast raid, you've got some very big characters there, like Kel'Thuzad, Sylvanas, and stuff like that. So they're going to look to test them at a very much later date, and I would have thought they'd put them up even separately on the PTR, mainly because they might have more in-depth mechanics as they're towards the back end of the raid. As you go through the raid, you're sort of obviously looking at more and more mechanics, more detailed mechanics towards the end. Otherwise, if you get the easier bosses towards the end, it's just going to be a bit shit, isn't it? So, again, they've still got a lot to do in terms of putting up the PTR and getting it out there for live servers. But with this update, they did update quite a bit. Obviously, the Mythics, the BFA mounts, Soul Cinders. So they're getting all of the core components ready, and they'll add all of the other stuff. Obviously, raid testing is going to be a big thing for them, because it is like high-end PvE, and loads of people tune into the world first for Mythics and like Heroics. So that is where they're going to grab some like quite good press and sort of good coverage of it. They're going to get the game out there a lot more than what it already is. So they want to make sure that these raids are pristine and looking good. They're feeling good. There's no bugs. There's no nothing. They don't want to show it in a bad light, etc. But they're getting there. If you had to put a time date or timestamp on it, I would say June. I'd say mid-June, late June. Now, that's late in terms of patches for World of Warcraft. Specifically, this is the longest patch. This is like Shadowlands to 9.1, so 9.0 to 9.1 has been the longest patch date. There's been nothing in between. Obviously, you had 9.0.5, but I think it was about 70 days, that you were looking at for Legion, each patch, each major patch, which is 2 months. You're looking at 2.5 months maximum if you're looking at Legion patches. I mean, 2 months in, that would have been Jan. That would have been end of January. That would have been beginning of February. So we're at least 2-3 months over that time limit already, or more than double. So, look, the only thing, it's tough in terms of 9.1 getting it out there. You obviously have COVID, which is, just done absolutely everything. It puts everything in the world to a standstill, pretty much the whole of last year. So it's tough to constantly function and, talk to people while you're trying to work from home and stuff. I believe that they are still working from home as of now. They're doing, obviously, voice acting from home. They're doing absolutely everything. So you've got to cut them a bit of slack in that regard. But we would have hoped for something by now, like a lot more on the PTR. Maybe it's ready to go live, but you can't rush it. If you rush it, you're going to get bugs, you're going to get loads of things that people don't like, you're not going to get the amount of content that you actually want to get. You're going to get, Warlords of Draenor type content. You're not going to get much. It might be good, but you're not going to get much at all. And a lot of people complain about more of the amount of content that you get rather than the quality. Because if you look at the content in Warlords of Draenor, the quality was actually really good. The raids were some of the best in the game. It's just there was nothing. There was literally nothing in between. You have raids and a few other bits here and there. An entire patch was dedicated to the selfie camera. I mean, that was the selfie camera patch. I mean, yeah, it's tough. It's tough to find that balance, but the only thing that we can do is hold on in there, keep an eye on the sort of patch notes, what's happening, etc. Unless you don't want to keep an eye on the patch notes and be completely in the dark and, just experience it when it does come out, which I do understand why that's good fun, because that would be really fun. I just have no willpower to do so, to be honest. I see the patch notes and I'm like, yep, I gotta know right now what's happening in the game. So, if that's how you want to experience the game, by all means. But you just got to keep persisting, keep going with the game. There's obviously something that you can do within the game while you wait, whether it's grind reputations, pet battles, arenas, raiding, dungeons, mythics, etc. So leveling ults and just trying out many different things, try out different specializations, talents, etc. So many different things that you can look towards while we're waiting for 9.1, but all we can do is wait. And I'm sure when 9.1 comes out, it will be worth it. At least I'd like to hope so. Anyways, that's going to do it for today. Thank you all very much for listening, as always. Please do check out the Pig and Whistle socials. They can be found on the Pig and Whistle website, as always. It's www.pigandwhistletales.com. Thank you all very much for listening, and go with Valor, friend. Goodbye all.